Once again. What up, what up, what up? What up, homie? It's kind of windy tonight, so y'all let me know how the audio is. If it's too windy or I need to take out the headphones, y'all let me know. Is the wind too strong on the mic? Y'all let me know how the quality is. All right, we good, we good. All right, cool, cool, cool. All right, all right. What up, what up, what up? It's a tad muffled. All right, hold on, okay. Let's fix that right now. Let's fix it right now. Venus plus Saturn energies, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, here we go. All right, is that better? It shouldn't be too muffled right now. All it seems well, it's clear. All right, cool, cool. All right, let's get this in. All right, cool. Let me flip this camera around. All right, what up, what up, what up? We're gonna be veiled up today. You know, coming straight from the veil this time. Now, what the fuck did I title this? The Cipher of the Occult. Sup. Nice. What up, what up? What up, what up? The Cipher of the Occult. The Veil of the Black, not the Black, the Dark Mother, I believe that's what the title is. Right? So we're gonna come in a hooded form today. It's kind of windy. So like I said, at any moment, if it gets too muffled, just let me know. I'll take the headphones out, so y'all just let me know what the deal is. But we gonna keep the crown chakra covered up tonight. All right. Now, what is this all about? We have entered into a time where the occult has become mainstream, right? We see it in the music, we see it in the movies, we see it in the art. You deep right now, I need to ask you, do you know anything about the earth chakras? Yeah, I know a little bit about the earth chakras. I don't know too much. I believe the root chakra is California and the crown chakra is in Tibet, I believe, which is why you see the vast differences of consciousness. But that'd definitely be something I go into another time. So I don't know fully every single chakra, but I definitely know about the earth chakras. But you know, we'll talk about that at a later time. But for now, we're gonna talk about this darkness, right? So, let's get into the mathematics of what I'm talking about. Ever since we entered into the year 2000, sorry for the off subject, no doubt, you know what I mean? We'll talk about that soon. So, you know, it'll just give me an idea to speak on something at a later date, so don't trip, right? So ever since we entered into the year 2000, we're working with the number 2. The 2 energy and a higher vibration is a number 11, right? Number 2 represents the moon. So ever since we've been in the year 2000, well, ever since the year 2000, we have entered into the time of the Great Mother, or the Dark Mother in this case. Because earlier I was talking about Kali, but now we're going to go more in depth about what this all really means on a grand scale. Now, it's called the Cipher of the Occult, because if you break down occult, the letters, if you break it down using numerology, you get the number 11 once again, which is why occult has this dark feeling. You know, when you're dealing with the moon, when you're dealing with the energies of the moon, you're dealing with darkness, you're dealing with shadows, you're dealing with things that are not seen, you're dealing with the unseen, you're dealing with things beyond the physical, right? The energy can go one or two ways, right? It isn't strictly a good thing, it isn't strictly a bad thing. Because the occult energy is now mainstream, that's why you have in the music is real. You can say satanic is real, highly emotional, you know, real in depth, however you want to call it, borderline rock, you know, real extreme subject matter, so on and so forth, right? you know, especially the imagery. Like everything is like rockish, right? Everything is grudge, rockish, occultish, veil, you know, so on and so forth. So on the flip side, because this energy is so potent, this is why that type of energy is more pronounced. So you have people that's dealing more so with their shadows, dealing more so with depression, dealing more so with all the things that would normally be suppressed. All those energies are coming out and it's being expressed through the music. Because when we think about music, it's just the muse. When you think about the producers and the beat makers and the artists, they're really just channeling a higher energy. They're just the channels of the energy. So we really don't have to look at the artists or the producers, but we just pay attention to what is coming through them, because they are vessels. The energy is coming through them. So when we see that all these things revolve around this darkness of energy, this is just what's going on in the universe at this current time. So going back to what I was saying about the 2000s, when the 2000s came in, that's when the Southern sound started to dominate hip hop. It was dominated by a Southern sound. You know, the down South sound, you know, it was completely different from the 90s sound. It was a new sound. And the music was definitely very dark, especially, you know, the crunk music, the crunk era, crunk music. You know what I mean? Tear the Club Up, 3 6 Mafia, so on and so forth. Although these groups, you know, Little John and the East Side Boys, they were around in the 90s and, you know, they were established in the 90s, but they came into more and more prominence in the 2000s. So, you know, that type of subject matter, you know, had an outlet, a mainstream outlet at that point. So although, you know, everybody else is enjoying the music and all these things, now it has become even darker as we go into the 2010 going forward, because now we entered into the time of Drake, right? 2009, 2010 was the birth of Drake. And, you know, the darkness of that music, that's why his music was real introspective, you know, very Joe Budden-like, you know what I mean, mood music-like. You know, very dark, very, you know, and, you know, very emotional music. We started going into that phase. Then a little bit later on, then you came with the drill music, you know, 2012, Chief Keef, so on and so forth, the drill music, you know, which is all about the warrior spirit. So when we look at all these dynamics, what's going on with music, when we look at all these dynamics, we see a common theme of occult magic. This is occult magic being manifested in the form of the Dark Mother. So the Dark Mother, the veil of the Dark Mother, that's why everybody's wearing the dreads now. The dreads is symbolic to the veil. So when you see the Chief Keefs, you know, the Chicago rappers and everybody else having the dreads, that's symbolic of the veil. They have the veil now. That's why they have such a darkish look. And you know, it's a real darkish feel overall. It just represents the veil of the Great Mother or the Dark Mother having her time, you know, from the 2000s on forth. Now, going even deeper into this, how do we feel this energy on a personal level? Hold on, get this out of my face. Peace, peace. Blessings, blessings. Appreciate you checking in, Afro Pit. You know what I mean? Check out the video whenever you can. So let me start walking around, actually. I don't want to stay in this area. So give me 1 second. Let's keep it moving. All right. So, it's another reason why I start to do videos at night, because the energy is more potent. Now, what is the veil? You know, when you think about the veil, also when you think about the number 11, it represents the number of the high priestess. So if you look at any tarot deck and you look at the third trump, you have the Fool, you have the Magician, then you have the High Priestess, which is represented with the Roman numerals as, you know, the 2 I's or the 2 L's, which represents 11. Now, or the number 2. The energy is definitely feeling real chaotic right now, but that's exactly why I'm out here. So when we think about the High Priestess always has a veil. What is it about the veil? What does the veil represent? Whether it's the veil over the head or the veil over the face, you know, like the Muslims wear, The Muslim women, they wear the veil over the face at times. Not all, but some of them do, some of them don't. What is it about the veil? What is it about keeping your crown covered? What is it about the veil? When you cover your crown up, and apologies for the darkness, but we're just gonna ride out for right now. When you cover yourself up, when you veil yourself, let me cross this street real quick. This is definitely unscripted, so it is what it is. Let me just take this off for right now. It's real windy. When we represent the veil, when we look at the veil, for example, sleep with something over your head and see how it affects your dreams. Whether you sleep with a hoodie, whether you want to sleep with a towel, whether you want to sleep with something, because I already talked about sleeping with your eyes covered, right? I already talked about having your eyes covered so that you are in complete darkness, but sleep with something over your head so that your crown chakra is covered. When you cover up your crown chakra, it enhances the pineal gland, which is the moon in your body. The moon in your body is your pineal gland, your third eye. So when you cover up your crown, you enhance the energy of the third eye. You increase the energy of the moon. When you increase the energy of the moon, it will enhance your dreams. It will enhance your visions. It will enhance your divination skills. You start to divinize a little bit more smoothly. And obviously it keeps your head warm nonetheless. So, saying all this to say, when you work more with your third eye, because we all know about the third eye, but when you work with it, with the veil, when you put the veil over your head, everything is enhanced. When everything is enhanced, for example, like me just having this towel over my head right now, just being outside and feeling all this chaos, it's not really too much going on, but it's a lot more going on than usual. Not necessarily the actual people, but just in the air, I just feel it's just a real fast moving motion, but that's kind of just the energy of Vegas anyway. But just me having this veil over my head, it's like I don't feel the interference at all. I don't feel anything. I don't feel no type of interference. Now, when you don't get the interference, because you know we always talk about MK Ultra, mind control, the government, Illuminati, so on and so forth. We'll get into that in just a second, but you're no longer affected by all that extra stuff, all these extra sensory vibrations that we can't perceive with our eyes. This is how you block it. You have to cover your head up, which is also why sometimes you see Muslim men with the, you know, they have the, I'm not sure what it's called. It's not a hijab. The hijab is what the women have. It escapes me at this moment. You know, the Muslim men have the actual thing on their head as well sometimes. How about wear a normal hat? Yeah, same thing. Yeah, you want to just put on your fitted, put on a fitted. You want to pull it up, have on your scully, put on the scully. Same thing. Just have your crown chakra covered up. It don't matter how you do it, just cover up the crown chakra. Do do-rags work? To a certain degree, but you definitely, if you can, have something a little bit more heavier. However, if you see that it does work on its own, then by all means use it. Just have your crown chakra covered up. Especially at night, when the energy is way more intense than the daytime. When you have your crown chakra covered up at night, a kufi, yeah, there we go, the kufi. That's exactly what I was saying. With the Muslim men have the kufi on their heads. That's, and you see the Muslims, the symbol of the Muslims or the symbol of Islam is a crescent moon, right? It's a crescent moon. That's why they have their crowns covered, to enhance their moons. What about having long hair? Definitely the hair is a representation of the veil as well, which I was talking about earlier, which is why so many people have dreads and all that. It just represents the veil. So definitely, yeah, hair, if you have long hair, that works too. If you have long hair, then cool. You know, you may not need a hat. But that's what it means. As long as you have something. Hold on 1 second. As long as you have something on your head. Let me get this situated. So, 1 second. Let me situate this. Way more windy than usual. You know, the fall is about to come in, the season of death. Fall represents the season of death, so that's definitely why, you know, things start to die and things start to change. You know, it's all about transmutation. So things truly don't die, they just transmute to a higher vibration. So getting back on point, with the Muslims, every rapid turn to Islam, what's the real power behind that religion? Well, that's what I'm going to get into right now. Because you have various forms of Islam. You know, you have the Orthodox Islam, you have the esoteric Islam, which is Sufism. Then you have, you know, like the Nation of Islam. Then you have, you know, the 5%ers who are not Muslims. But, you know, you can say it's a similarity there. They're not Muslims. And I have personal experience in all these fields. Because I personally became a Muslim when I was 15. I'm from Detroit. Islam, the Nation of Islam, was established in Detroit. So that was, you know, a big thing. You know, Islam is also big on the East Coast. You know, Philadelphia, so on and so forth. Islam is definitely real big on the East Coast. Now, the power behind that is the moon. That's the power behind Islam. It's that moon. It's that third eye. And the reason that is again, this is why everybody had their head covered to power up their third eye. But they do it in the name of Allah. You know, or, you know, the older deity is Allah, which is the feminine version of Allah. So before Allah was a masculine deity, it was Allah, was a feminine deity, which is the Dark Mother. Which is why this is called the veil of the Dark Mother. So you can say this is the representation of Allah, the Dark Mother before the Heavenly Father, in a sense, right? So the power behind Islam is they emphasize the power of the moon, or they emphasize the power of the third eye. This is why, you know, they're way more traditional. The religion is way more strict. Way more rules, you know, so on and so forth. And also why I was personally drawn to it as well at the time, because, you know, I was like everybody else. If you asked me what my religion was, I would say Christianity, although I wasn't going to church, or I didn't necessarily agree with church. Saturn is a black box. Saturn with the black box, definitely. I spoke more about Saturn in my previous video, so if you want extra information about Saturn, check out the video I just did earlier today. So, the power of the moon and the power of the crescent, see, it's not just a full moon, it's a crescent moon. What is it about the crescent moon, or the waxing or the waning moon? Because it's a difference. Let me just cross this street. Because you see, it's not the full moon, it's not the new moon, it's the waxing or the waning moon. Just like when you look at the symbolism of the triple goddess, the symbolism of the triple goddess is the 3 phases of the moon. So if you type in triple goddess symbol in Google or whatever, you're going to see symbolisms of the moon. Also with Wicca, when you look into the Wicca religion or philosophy or way of life, it's all about the moon, studying the phases of the moon. Bro, Islam have a lot of rules, not like having sex before marriage, praying 5 times a day. Isis is named that, absolutely. Isis is definitely a lunar deity. And again, based on what you're saying, like Islam is a lot more stricter because it deals with the moon, it deals with the unseen. Like Islam goes more into things like, you know, jinns. They don't call them demons, they call them jinns. You know, and they acknowledge that shit. So they don't just say Satan, you know, Satan is Shaitan, you know, so on and so forth. Then you got the Arabic language, which is the sister language of Hebrew. So you can say Arabic is the lunar is a lunar language, whereas Hebrew is a more fire language or a more solar language. Is it Freemasonry based on Islam, mysticism, basically Sufism? It definitely has elements of Sufism, but a lot of people don't know about Sufism and they don't acknowledge Sufism. Like, for example, I was in the Orthodox, you know, obviously, when I first started, I was in the Orthodox form of the religion. Then I would ask, do you have any books on Sufism? I would ask the questions, you know, to the people that ran the masjid, which is the Muslim church. It's called a masjid. So I would ask, do you have any books on Sufism? And yeah, Sufism is not the exoteric, the esoteric. The exoteric is the Orthodox. The esoteric is the Sufism. So there's a difference. Peace, peace. Moon spirit, what up? That's what we're talking about right now. We're talking about the moon right now, actually. So when I asked, do you have any books on Sufism? The exact words to me was, we want to keep things mainstream. If you want books on Sufism, you have to ask the imam, which is basically the pastor or the preacher of the Islamic, you know, thing. They call him the imam or the imam. So I literally had to talk to the head dude to even get information on that, and he didn't even give me the information. I had to study it on my own. So this was told to me directly. So that let me know right there that they have no interest in teaching the people Sufism, although they know about it, but they have no interest in teaching the people about what's really going on an esoteric level, because they feel that people wouldn't understand. They want to keep things more traditional. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because it's not the easiest thing to grasp, but it puts a cap on your spirituality. You're not knowing everything there is to know. You're only knowing, you can say, the solar elements of the religion and not the lunar elements, not the unseen. See, the Sufism goes more into the unseen, like how to control jinns, how to summon jinns, like all that mystic shit is in Sufism. You know, how to make a jinn one of your servants, how to help you. Basically the same way people talk about in the occult, how to summon spirits and all that. All that is in Sufism as well. You know, using the Arabic language, you know, chants using the Arabic language, chanting to have certain effects the same way you would use mantras. So they have a whole language dedicated to that spiritual science, but the average person knows nothing about it because they're not into Sufism. So if you was into Sufism and you was a Muslim and you know how to use the Arabic language to have control over spirits and all these things, again, most people have no idea how to do any of that. If you ask the average Muslim about Sufism, they couldn't really tell you anything because that part is very hidden. You know, to the majority of the Muslims in America, they have no, unless you are an imam or you are somebody who studies. If you're somebody who studies more than just what's given to you when you go to get your spiritual service. But this is the power of the moon. This is the power of the lunar energy. This is the power of the third eye. That's why everybody says, you know, you got to open your third eye, open your third eye. They don't say you got to open up your crown chakra. Am I more? Not by association, meaning like I go to a certain organization or none of that. I feel like we all are Moors. We all are Moors if you want to go by the raw definition of what a Moor means. Or you say Moor, Moorish, so on and so forth. But in terms of associating myself with the actual system, rules and regulations, nah. But I feel we are all, that's just something we are naturally. Just like they say, we are all Muslims naturally. That's what a Muslim say. If you go to a Muslim, they will say we are all Muslims. Naturally, whether you know you actually are a part of the religion or not. Hey man, I got to get up out here, but I really deep shit, boom. All right, definitely. Peace out to you, Green Revolution. Peace, peace. So, this is why everybody has so much emphasis on the third eye, because that's the power of the third eye. It's more powerful than the crown chakra. It's just more subtle. So more people, you can say most people it kind of gets overshadowed, but it's more powerful than the crown chakra. Now, what do I mean by it's more powerful than the crown chakra? What I mean by it's more powerful than the crown chakra because it gives you vision. All your vision comes from your third eye or your pineal gland because your pineal gland secretes DMT and the DMT gives you vivid visions. Your pituitary gland or your crown chakra basically establishes equilibrium within you so that you feel balanced. So your pituitary gland, once it's stimulated, gives you an overall sense of well-being and balance, whereas your pineal gland, once you stimulate it and it secretes DMT, you start to see visions. You start to have, everything spiritual is coming through the moon. So any type of divination, any type of, spiritual exercise, whatever it is coming through the third eye. It's coming through that pineal gland. It's coming through the moon. And obviously, the moon in the natal chart is associated with your emotions and your reactions and your subconscious mind. As we already know, your subconscious mind creates your reality for you based on what you have been programmed with. Let me just go over here. Our reality is ruled by our subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind is based on what has been programmed into you. As a child, as a youth, and also what you continue to program yourself with on a daily basis. That's why the subconscious is more powerful than the conscious, because it's the subconscious that's creating everything based on, everything that you feel. Basically, that's why they say perception. What you feel is real. That's why they say fear is false evidence appearing real. It's about what you feel is real. It's not what's actually real, because nothing is actually real. It's what you feel is real. And what you feel is real is based on what's going on in your subconscious. That's why it's so important to deal with the shadows. It's so important to go into the occult and study the occult so that it doesn't destroy you. See, what we have now, as I was speaking about earlier with the music, this energy is already potent on the planet. But if you don't understand the science behind it, it's going to consume you. That's why, people get into, Satanism, Luciferianism, and they become destructive people. They don't do it to empower themselves. They become destructive people, destroying, you can say, whether it's the people around them or destroying themselves and consuming themselves with complete darkness, not even seeking light. Those things can happen when you are not balanced. This is why you have to study. This is why you can't just do rituals and you can't just do shit just to get results. Because that's what most people come into spirituality looking for results. They heard, okay, you can manifest, you can have anything you want. You can do this, you can do that. It's cool, all this stuff. But they don't want to study. They don't want to put them years into study this shit so that you understand what's really going on behind the scenes. To truly understand what is it that you're actually doing. What is the subconscious mind? What is the conscious mind? What is the unconscious? What is the superconscious? What is the infinite conscious? What is the collective conscious? What is the oversoul? You establish all these definitions so that you can recognize things when they happen to you and that you can have a certain path to take. If you don't understand the path that you're taking because you're just doing shit and not understanding what you really get into, that's how people become consumed and get thrown off track because they don't truly understand what's going on. So in order for you to truly understand what's going on, that's why you have to study the third eye. You have to study the moon. You can't just do things. You must study and understand what the process is for. This is what alchemy is. This is why, the great work. This is why you participate in the great work. This is the great work. It's to unlock your subconscious mind. Your infinite potential rests within you unlocking your subconscious mind, but you have to go through your shadows. You have to go through the thoth, not the thoth, the doth, the hidden spirit of the tree of life, which I was talking about earlier. You have to go through that darkness. You have to go through your shadows. You have to go through this blackness. You have to go through the dark mother. You have to go through the dark Vader. You have to deal with all these things so that you can transmute this shadow energy, this dark energy, into an energy that becomes practical and useful. That's what it is. Not something that consumes you and makes you other than yourself, something that opens up your infinite potential so that you can heal. You start to heal yourself from the inside instead of killing yourself from the inside, which is what a lot of people are depressed. A lot of people are expressing anger. People are hateful. People are, they have lost hope. They feel like the system is rigged and there's nothing we can do. We just have to sit and take the shit. You start to get into that mode. You feel hopeless. You feel helpless. You know, suicidal thoughts. Because you become consumed with your shadows, not knowing how to properly deal with them. If you don't know how to properly deal with them because you haven't done the research, you haven't took time to study, you're just all about trying to get results. Leave the results alone. The results are going to come naturally if you are patient with yourself and do the actual work properly. In order to do the work properly, you have to have some type of foundation. You have to study these things and you have to apply them after knowing what you're getting into. This is why the third eye is so important. You know, you can say it's the most popular chakra. You're going to hear about the third eye before you hear about any other chakra. And that's the reason, because the moon is the moon, you can say is the most powerful planet. Just subtle, on a subtle level. The sun obviously has the most radiation. But if you're talking about on a subtle level, because we're talking about magnetism, if we're talking about the feminine energy is all about magnetism. That's why the moon has power over the tides and the water of the earth. You getting into magnetism. See, when you deal with the sun, it's all about, give me 1 second. When you deal with the sun, you're not dealing with magnetism. You're dealing more so with kinetic energy. You're dealing more with electric energy. When you deal with the moon, you're dealing with magnetism. The difference between the electric energy or the kinetic energy and magnetism is a lot more powerful. Obviously, look at gravity. But this is when you start to study things like black holes. You know, black holes, and you see how these energies react, you know, electromagnetism, how the energies react when they combine together. But when you start to deal with magnetism, you know, having magnetic control over your reality, not just electric or kinetic control. You could say being able to send a thought to somebody and influence their mind, you know, telepathy and all these things. But when you get into magnetism, you know, being able to manipulate things like gravity, being able to manipulate things on a way more subtle level, but a way more powerful level. It's more subtle, so most of the time it's overlooked, but it's a lot more powerful. That's why you study the yogis. You know, when you think about the people who were able to do spectacular things, other than, you know, the Egyptians and things like that, you have the yogis, you know, in India. You know, if you read a book, the autobiography of a yogi, you can see all the amazing shit that we are capable of, but it's more so magnetism. Magnetism is more powerful, but it's more subtle, which is why most people know nothing about it, which is why, you know about Islam, but you know about the exoteric Islam and not the esoteric Islam. So if you want a direct correspondence of what all this is really talking about, then that's when you start to study Sufism. You study Sufism to understand the magnetism that we truly have and that we truly possess, which is, you know, having control not only over, you can say, someone else's mind, but also over spirits, over jinns, so that they become your servants. So it's not just about the physical rulership, it's about the spiritual rulership. Being able to have that spiritual rulership over the unseen realm is dealing with lunar energy, the thing that you can't see. If you want to work beyond the physical, you have to go into the lunar energy. That's why dreams are so important. That's why it's so important to, you know, your diet and all these things. You correct your diet, you get your diet better. You know, that the fast and all the things, all the spiritual stuff you do is enhancing your lunar energy. When you enhance your lunar energy, you are able to control things beyond the physical. You know, dreams become a lot more vivid. You're able to create a whole nother world. So anytime we're talking about creation, we're talking about magnetism. Whenever we're talking about magnetism, we're talking about the third eye. So the third eye is more than just being able to see beyond the physical. But when you talk about lunar energy in its essence, the feminine energy in its essence, which is why, you know, it's clear as day that you can say women are more powerful than men, just on a subtle level. Men may be more physically powerful, may be more outwardly or more electrifying, but on a subtle magnetism, a subtle magnetic level, peace, on a subtle magnetic level, women are superior, just on a more subtle level. You know, that's why men is always chasing women, right? You don't necessarily see women chasing men. They do, but they do it more subtly. They use seduction. This is where you get into seduction and all this stuff. That's a perfect example. Women use seduction, you know, to seduce men, whereas men are more direct. You know, just a more direct approach, a more straight line, a more kinetic electric approach, whereas women are more about seduction, which is dealing with magnetism, which is dealing with subatomic particles, which is dealing with the metaphysical realm or the spirit realm, doing all that extra shit that we're not even thinking about. You wonder why you are attracted to a certain woman. You don't even know why, because you don't even know you're being seduced. That's the power of it. You don't know. It's things that's going on that you can't even perceive. And you wonder why you're drawn to certain things, because it's all about magnetism. When you start to study and understand magnetism, you're able to do things like that. You're able to not only manipulate people, but also nature as a whole. So it don't stop with people, it's nature, being able to manipulate nature as a whole. And again, this is why you don't really hear too much about lunar energy, because it's more powerful. That's why it's called the occult. That's why it's the veiled dark goddess. The dark goddess or the dark mother is veiled because she is the most powerful. If she was not veiled, it's the same thing with Kali. If Kali was not veiled, she would destroy everything. Right? Kali would destroy everything if it wasn't a veil. The veil protects total destruction. So as I was saying earlier about the eye of Shiva or the eye of Haru, when the eye of Shiva is open, it destroys the physical universe. However, when the eye is open with the veil on top, if you veil the eye, so the eye is open, but it's open through the veil, you don't necessarily destroy everything. You're able to see everything from a lunar level. You're able to see the feminine aspects or the yin aspects of everything in nature. And that deals with spirituality. So true spirituality is dealing with feminine energy. That's why as a man you have to tap into your feminine energy, your feminine side, to even understand all the spiritual concepts, whereas this is more natural to women. They already are in tune with this realm anyway. It's more natural to them, and it's more unnatural to a man. You have to kind of learn how to tap into it, because it's dealing with lunar energy, and lunar energy is subtle but ultimately powerful. So what is the eye of Shiva? The eye of Shiva is also called the eye of Haru. I talked more about that on my last video. So if you watch the last video, I showed a direct representation of the eye of Shiva and through the tower. Study the tarot card, the tower. That's the eye of Shiva. When the eye of Shiva is open, also you can go to symboldictionary.net or .com, type in the eye of Shiva, type in the eye of Haru. It's all the same thing. When the eye of Shiva is open, the universe is destroyed, or the physical universe is destroyed, illusions are destroyed. So I talked more so about that in the last video, so if you want more information on the eye of Shiva. But now we're talking about the eye in the veiled, in the veiled state. So before we talk about the eye in the masculine state, now we're talking about the eye in the feminine state. That means as men, we have to embrace feminine energy, like take care of ourselves and stuff like that. Absolutely. See, because that's what spirituality is. Like for women, they have to connect with their masculine side because they're naturally in tune with their feminine side. So that's why a woman who has become spiritual becomes more electrifying, whereas a man who becomes more spiritual becomes more subtle, calm, cool, and collective. That's why, as we grow older, and it happens naturally, you start to slow down and become more calm, cool, and collected as you mature. You slow down, you become more subtle. You don't just react, like a firecracker, somebody who just has a hot temper. You start to slow down and be more subtle because you start to get more in tune with the feminine energy, if you choose. After chatting Rahu on the eclipse, the name of Shiva popped into my head and led me to study him. It was my first time hearing him. Definitely going to check it out. Definitely study Shiva. Krishna, Shiva, Krishna, the Christ, or so-called Jesus. It's all the same energy, the Christ energy. So just study the Christ energy as a whole, and you can look at all the representations and all the imagery that you see with the Christ energy. You know what I mean? So with the lunar energy is subtle, but powerful. This is why most people just overlook it, which is why women are suppressed. Especially when you talk about Islam, the women are suppressed. It's no questioning that the women are suppressed in Islam. They're suppressed because they are under the veil, right? They may not outwardly say that, but obviously you see it's dominated by the men. But you can say we are all over the world. It switched from feminine worship to masculine worship. That's the reason why it changed. It changed from feminine worship to masculine worship because people didn't understand the true power of the feminine energy. They said, why are we worshiping this feminine energy is weaker than the man? So by thinking that it's weaker, you completely trumped over it, you destroyed it, then you start worshiping the masculine energy, thinking it's more powerful, but not truly understanding the subtle magnetism. But because we are in the 2000s now, this is why all this occult information, metaphysical information, everything going beyond the physical, that's why these things, law of attraction, things of this nature, all the subtle things are becoming way more prominent. This is why the feminine energy has returned. That's why, you hear a lot of people talking about the great mother, the black woman is God. These are why all these type of subjects are now coming up and becoming way more mainstream, and people are becoming more spiritual naturally because this is the return of the dark mother. The dark mother represents the great mother of the universe. As I showed in the last video, if you look at the tarot, especially the Crowley deck, Aleister Crowley's deck, you look at the planet Saturn, the representation of the planet Saturn is the universe. Excuse me, if you look at the card of the universe, it's a picture of a woman in the middle of a universe. It's not a man, it's a woman. So the card of the universe, which is the last trump card, because there's 22 trump cards in the tarot card, the very last card, named the universe, has a woman in the middle of it. Not a man, it's a woman. So the last representation of spirituality, because the 22 trumps represents the great work, going through the great work. So the last step you get to, working with the great work or going through the processes of the great work, when you reach the final level, you're going to reach the great mother, the dark mother, the black goddess. Simple as that. You're going to reach the subtle magnetism of the universe. So once you get over the electrifying, the lights, the camera, the action, the masculine energy, you go more into the subtle form. You go deep into your subconscious and you start to see. That's why it's all about going within. That's why everybody says go within. Don't go out. Don't look at the lights, camera, and action and get caught up in the illusionary realm. You need to go inside yourself and deal with your shadows. You need to deal with who you really are on the inside. That's why that matters. You have to go within. You have to slow down. You have to stop yourself. You have to meditate. You have to do all these things to slow yourself down. Because you have to tap into the feminine aspect of life. You find that you tap more into the feminine aspect, you get more emotional and even sympathize easier with others to the point of tears at times. Absolutely. That's what the feminine energy is, especially if you shed in tears. That's just representation of, tears of the moon. You just type in Google, type in tears of the moon. Moon is all about memories, absolutely. But what is memories? You see mem. The core word in memories is mem. What is Mem? Mem is an Egyptian deity. It's a masculine deity, M-I-M. But you also have the rapper, Eminem. What is all this? It's a deity it's a deity that represents sexual fertility. But M-E-M, memory, memorization. M-E-M is dealing with mu. You're dealing with mu, you're dealing with ma, you're dealing with water. It's water. Whenever M-E-M is anywhere, you're dealing with water. You're dealing with information traveling through something. That's why you have water and you have earth. The water and earth are both feminine elements. The water is the feminine element in motion. The earth is the feminine element that's not moving. So you have stored information, which is the earth. The earth represents stored information, information that is stored. Whereas the water represents information that's moving. So that's what's the most feminine energy we have is the blood, right? The blood. So the greatest representation of the feminine energy is the blood, which is why, if you drink your blood, you will have a spiritual experience. But, you know, most people are not ready for all that. But that's why you have to keep your blood clean. You have to keep your blood clean to even be spiritual. You can't even be spiritual. And again, we are spiritual beings by nature, but you're going to have a lot of blockages, a lot of blood clots, and not have access to those subtle magnetisms or that subtle magnetic energy if your blood is not clean. You thought it was semen? Well, semen is blood. Semen is blood. It is blood. It's a different form of blood. And urine is blood plasma. See? That's why I'm so heavy with the urine therapy. Urine therapy is blood plasma. Semen is a different form of blood. It's all blood. It's the blood. That's feminine energy. So that's why, you know, it's for people who practice urine therapy, you know, for women who like to swallow semen, for people that like to drink blood. That's why you do that, to have a spiritual experience, because it represents the feminine energy. That's why the blood is so important. So if anything, the best thing you can do is keep your urine clean and keep your blood clean. Doing that, you will be open more to spirituality. I think the greatest representation of the Dark Mother is Nina Simone. Absolutely. You know what I mean? We have all type of representations of the Dark Mother, whether you want to, whether it's an actor, whether it's a singer, whether it's a symbol, whether it's Kali, a deity. It could be your own mother. Your own mother can be the perfect representation of feminine energy. It can be your grandmother. It can be your auntie. It can be your niece. It can be a child, a newborn, you know, baby. You know, wherever you are, the actual moon, when you look up in the sky and see the moon, I don't actually see the moon. Well, yes, it's pretty much a new moon right now, so I wouldn't see the moon or I would show you, but I do see stars. So this is why the feminine energy is so important, because you can't even have a spiritual experience having dirty urine, having dirty blood. You can't even have a certain type of experience. That's why spirituality really revolves around you having clean blood and clean urine, having a clean system. A clean system is just having clean blood and clean urine. Simple as that. And the things that dirty up your blood is, you know, eating all this junk. Now, you know, every now and then you can dabble in it, but you have to always make it a priority to make sure every time that you do something like that, you cleanse your aura, you cleanse your energy so that it doesn't attach to you. And this is why we talk about spirits and all that, you know, and deities and energies and thought forms attaching to people. How can you learn more about women? You have to tap into your own feminine energy. See, women, you can say, are symbols of feminine energy. So if you want to understand women, you have to understand feminine energy. And what is feminine energy? Feminine energy is what? Chaos. Simple as that. If you want to understand women, you have to understand chaos. If you want to understand chaos, you know, you can study things like quantum mechanics, chaos theory, so on and so forth. So if you really want to understand women, you have to understand chaos. You have to understand that anything can happen at any time. You have to understand emotions. You have to understand reactions. You have to understand the subconscious mind. You have to understand the third eye. You have to understand the pineal gland, so on and so forth. You see why artists tune into their feminine energy like Michael Jackson always go very far? Yeah, especially Michael Jackson, Prince, what was it, Rick James, you know, especially artists back in the day who were very feminine, but obviously very masculine at the same time, representing the androgynous spirit. So although they are very masculine, they were in tune with the feminine energy. Now, of course, you know, that's why, you know, they had to suppress that energy. That's why, you know, Michael Jackson and Prince are no longer here. You know, people say they were taken out, but it was more so what they represent. They represent that androgynous spirit. So when you tap into your feminine aspect as a man or your masculine aspects as a woman, you become an androgynous spirit. When you become an androgynous spirit, now you have control over the whole universe. Even nowadays, Young Thug wearing dresses, exactly. Exactly, it's the same thing. Or even that, you know, gay people are more prominent with who and what they are. They're not hiding anymore, especially gay people, trannies. that may be disrespectful. Transsexuals, you know, that's why that energy is so prominent nowadays as well. See, because the way I see it, and you know, some people may not like it, some people may understand, but because women are becoming more masculine, because this is the thing. We're in a time where women are becoming more masculine naturally because of just the environment. You know what I mean? You putting all the money in their face. You know, you have all these goals and desires, and you know, these are business women. You see women all in music. You see women doing all type of things, becoming, you say, more and more like men. So the universe has its ways to balance things out, which is why the transsexuals are prominent now. You know, you can say these are men who feel they are women. And I agree with them. If you go into the extremes that they go to, I'm not going to deny it. You know, you're doing all type of things to your bodies. You're taking chemicals. You know, you're doing everything that you can possibly do to be the symbol of feminine energy. So you can say transsexuals are more feminine than women. That's a valid argument at this point, which is why they are so prominent, which is why women feel like, oh, they look just like you. You may not even know the fucking difference. But that's just how seriously they take what they represent, that androgynous spirit. So at the end of the day, they hate the physical so much, obviously. But again, we have to understand it's confusion. So we don't necessarily need to point at no fingers. We don't need to point fingers at anybody, because there's a lot of confusion going on, because the lunar energy is high. This is why we talk about lunar energy. Lunar energy causes what? Lunacy. What is lunacy? You know, that's why you call it lunatics. The lunatics, right? The full moon, the wolf, the full moon, the vampire, the wolf, right? So on the flip side, the moon causes confusion. So a lot of people are confused and they don't understand why they feel the way they feel, why certain things are happening, which is why I was talking about, you know, it could lead to all this shadow energy and all this depression, all these suicidal attempts, so on and so forth, that we see being expressed through the music, you know, all this hateful energy, all this hatred, so on and so forth. So on one side, it can cause you to be more spiritual. On the flip side, it can cause more confusion. If it causes more confusion, that's because you got into it not understanding what you're getting into. But if it causes you to elevate, that's because you understood it. If you don't understand it, it will cause confusion. If you do understand it, it will cause spiritual elevation so that you can have peace within yourself. So at the end of the day, it's about having peace within yourself. So regardless of what everybody else is doing, masculine or feminine, right, wrong, good, bad, everything in between, you actually don't think logically no more, because we're talking about the right brain. If we're talking about the right brain, you get out of either something that's good or bad, and there's nothing in between. You stop thinking in absolutes. When you stop thinking in absolutes and you understand that there's many variables, then you start to understand everything. Everything can be understood if you don't think in absolutes. If you think in absolutes, things don't make sense. Like, either you got to be a man or you got to be a woman. There's nothing in between. You can't be a man thinking you're a woman. You can't be a woman thinking you're a man. You can't do any of that. You can't be gay. You can't, you know, all these things. That's why religious people are very against gays, because they think in absolutes. That's the whole thing. If you think in absolutes, anything that is beyond that, something that you can't understand, you're going to go against it, because, like, no, either you're this or that. Either you're on the left side or you're the right side. Either you part of the problem or you're part of the solution. There is no in between. So when you think in absolutes, you become destructive. That's why we see so much destruction. That's why we see so much war. That's why we see so much confusion, because people are thinking in absolutes. Like, there's just no other way to go about certain things, when we all have various means of spirituality and understanding who and what we are. See, everybody isn't into astrology. Everybody isn't into numerology. Everybody isn't into the esoteric sciences. Everybody isn't into Gnosticism, Sufism, you know, and so on and so forth, divination, tarot cards. Everybody isn't into all these sciences, but that doesn't mean that they can't find their own path. And this is what I mean. Spirituality doesn't have to have a face. Like, everybody doesn't have to be into crystals. Everybody doesn't have to be into witchcraft. Everybody doesn't have to be into Wicca. Everybody doesn't have to be into the law of attraction. These are all paths or avenues you can take, but these are not essential. But if we think in absolutes, like you have to do certain things, that's when the confusion starts. That's why we're not going to understand anything. So the universe always has a way to balance things out, whether we understand it or not. So whether it comes in the form of a natural disaster or it comes in the form of a transsexual claiming to be the exact opposite of what they appear to be, because that's how they feel in their spirit. If that's the way they feel and anybody else has a problem with it, it's not that they're wrong, it's not that they're confused, it's that maybe we need to open up our minds. If a motherfucker feels that strongly about it, maybe that's just how they really feel. Maybe you should just let them be them. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, so you know, we don't really see too many women transsexuals becoming men. You more so see the men becoming the women. The reason why you see more men, or you can say that's what's pushed more, you don't really see too many trans say, oh, I'm a woman, but I feel like a man. You see more so, I'm a man, but I feel like a woman. You see that more so than the other side because we are in a more feminine time. The feminine energy is more prominent. So at the end of the day, you know, with all that being said, this information came straight from the veil. You know, this is straight from the dark mother, straight from the great mother, straight from the great mother, the black goddess. And this is the message. You know, definitely tap into your feminine souls, your oversouls, your feminine energy. You know, we out here at night, we out here in Vegas, we out here in Sin City. You know, Sin City is obviously another word for the moon. For those who didn't know that, Sin City is Moon City. This is why it's like an adult Disneyland. So Sin City or Moon City is why people come here to express what's in their minds. That's the thing. People come to Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. That phrase, if you apply it to lunar energy, it makes sense. Meaning what you do here, when you express your subconscious desires here, you don't take it back with you because you leave it in Vegas. You leave it here, you don't take it with you. So all the things that you were suppressed, that you had suppressed, all your shadows, all your dark fantasies and dark thoughts, all the things that were within you, you bring it out here, but you don't take it back with you when you leave. That's what that whole saying is all about. You come here to express your shadow side, to express the feminine side, the side that may not be acceptable anywhere else, that may not be acceptable where you are, that may not be acceptable from your family, from your friends, from your job, whatever it is, it may not be acceptable. So you come here, you come to Sin City to express all those things that you cannot express elsewhere, and you leave it here and you become a better person. That's what it is on a spiritual level. You come here to express what you couldn't express anywhere else so that you can become a better person. However, of course, it can just be, I'm going to come here and become destructive. So on the flip side, you have that element as well. People come here and they become more and more destructive instead of more and more spiritual. It can go either way depending on who the person is and how much they understand about what's going on. Because again, Vegas brings the whole world to you. If you're more into the Egyptian, you know, you got a hotel that represents every type of energy that you can tap into. You know, you got the Luxor. If you into the Egyptian theme, you got the Luxor. You into the Middle Age theme, you got the Excalibur. You're more so into the Italian theme, you know, what is it? You got the, there's no need to go through every hotel. It's way more than I can even think of. But any type of energy that you can tap into, there is a hotel that embodies a certain type of energies for whatever experience you want to have. So at the end of the day, that's what it is. Straight from the veil, straight from the great mother. And I'm going to get back at y'all real soon. So hopefully this was helpful. And we're going to be up out of here. You know, peace. Get it in.